Hello, thank you for tuning in to another episode of BDSM United podcast as we continue our Sex Magic series. Today, we want to talk a little bit more about communication. Or a little bit about communication during sex magic. In a previous episode, we dealt with safety. We also want to deal with communication because part of being risk aware and part of making sure that everyone is consensual and everyone's having fun with the kink is communication. It's communication is a vital part of all BDSM. You'll always hear people that talk. If you know anyone who's also involved in BDSM, you'll hear them and you'll hear educators say it a lot too, that you have to communicate. Communication. You can't just get around communication. There's things like vetting and negotiations and contracts. There's all these different types of things involved in BDSM that not a lot of other types of more vanilla relationships include that much communication. By the way, I am Primal Piggy. You can find me on Facebook at The Primal Piggy, all one word, or as an admin of a site called Whips, Chains, and Duct Tape. You can find that on Facebook at WCDT BDSM. If you're listening on your favorite platform, go ahead and subscribe and go ahead and leave us a review and let people know about this series. This is a pretty interesting series. Usually, sex magic. I own a lot of books on sex magic, and a lot of them tell you that sex magic can be done, but they don't tell you how to do it. And in this series, we will where as we continue to unfold this series, there will be a lot of practical sex workings and exercises that you can actually do, that you can actually participate and add to your relationship. A subtler issue is the problem of verbalizing articulately in the midst of an intense scene. I have my notes here in front of me. If the ritual is going to require lots of talking during, not just before the scene, and especially if it's going to require memorized lines, be sure that the bottom is actually capable of handling this and have a plan B on hand mentally if they can. Oftentimes, having them not really on a paper, but having them on a tablet or having them on a phone is really going to be really good for you because you can scroll through those things. But make sure you have chargers on hand and that the devices are ready to be used. And if you need Wi-Fi, that you have that available. We've seen the most articulate and poetic people go confused and nonverbal as part of a scene, while some tops simply move into punishment mode for forgetting one's lines. That may not be a dynamic that you want to work with in a ritual scenario. If you're the top and it's time for the bottom to say X, and the bottom clearly has gone beyond the ability to remember anything more complicated than three short words strung together, you have a number of useful options. You can just skip it and go on to the next phase. You can word their part into a question that you ask them so that they only have to choke out a yes or a no. You can stroke them and calm them down until they regained enough rational ability to say their lines. Although the danger with this is that it might lose the intense energy of the ritual itself. Because remember that sex magic is using that heightened sexual energy through a lot of times through things like edging and through orgasm to charge with intention and will and produce change or produce the desired result. So you can find things to say to cue them. You can call and response it, walking them through the lines by repeating your words. This may seem counterproductive if part of the impact of them speaking is to willingly accept or agree to something, but hearing one's voice faintly repeating the resounding words of a dominant or a top that are still ringing in one's ears can be pretty powerful experience for a submissive or for a bottom. And so, when people here in the United States, where I'm located, when they become a citizen, or when you're sworn in and you raise your right hand. When you raise your right hand and you repeat after an oath or swearing in, it is still a powerful experience, even though you're repeating after somebody. And that can be the case within Sex Magic as well. If the top has a lot of lines, remember that they too might space it when those hormones rip through the brain. Practice saying the same thing in different ways so that one of in one of those circumstances, it's better to wing it if you forget it. Unless the bottom is an awfully picky, detail queen type of person, they'll be too nervous and excited to really notice too much. Cut each other lots of slack with regards to ceremonial details, as long as the action of the ritual is not damaged to the point of uselessness. And you know what? If it is, revert, you know, call the ritual to a close and enjoy each other sexually. Enjoy yourself sexually and enjoy the moment of just being together and connecting intimately and have a laugh and just enjoy yourselves. Don't take while sex magic it can be a serious thing, don't always take yourselves too seriously, especially when you're learning, especially when you're, when you're uh when these things are new to you like they will be to most people. Remember that if a BDSM ritual didn't work for technical problems, you don't have to throw the entire idea away. You give it time to percolate before trying again. I'd suggest a minimum of a month to a maximum of a year, but do try it again, perhaps with an entirely rewritten, maybe a little bit easier script and better preparations. Sometimes the stars just aren't right for these kinds of things, and it's better to try again at a more convenient time. Whatever you do, try to avoid blaming each other for things that go wrong. If it clearly was someone's fault, perhaps it might be a better to quietly find a different partner to do the ritual with instead of flinging waves of blame. Even if that's not available to you, given the nature of your kinky relationship, you may be monogamous, you may not have additional or other play partners. Still, avoid, don't avoid talking about things, but talk them through and don't blame each other, but uh, just learn from your mistakes and try again at another time. Like I said, I'm going to keep this kind of short. Communication. If you're doing BDSM, then and you're doing it regularly, and you're already in a power exchange relationship, then you most likely know how to communicate with specifically with your partner. And so, make sure that in these circumstances with magical practice, that you give yourselves some grace, especially when you're learning, and like I said, don't all while it's a serious thing and can have some serious benefits by performing sex magic, don't always take yourselves too seriously. And know that a lot of things can be modified. A lot of things can be, well, not everything can, but a lot of things can be modified and can be worked to meet the specifics of your relationship dynamic. I'm Primal Piggy. You can find me on Facebook at The Primal Piggy, all one word, or as an admin of a rather large Facebook page, about 120,000 followers. It's called Whips, Chains, and Duct Tape. You can find that on Facebook at WCDT BDSM. You just type those in the search bar, The Primal Piggy or WCDT BDSM, and it'll pull our pages right up. You can also find us on the web at www.bdsmunited.com. You can find me on Facebook by searching Primal Piggy. You can look for my face. You can look for these types of videos. You can also uh, find us on FetLife. We're there as BDSM United. And a lot of times we're posting some of these videos there as well. You can also watch on YouTube some of the videos of the podcast that you're hearing if you're on an audio platform. All right. Thank you for listening today.